South East Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick.
Well, Budget 2024 has been the topic on every business person's lips this week, and with announcements regarding a minimum wage increase and support packages for businesses, there is plenty to analyse. Wexford woman Melissa Fenlon is a tax director with PwC, and she joins us now to delve into the detail. Melissa, undoubtedly the stinging criticism which was levelled at Budget 2024 from businesses in certain sectors was the substantial increase in the minimum wage.
Yes, Karl, the minimum wage has gone up to $12.70 per hour. It was a bit of a shock to us also. It wasn't one we were expecting to see in the budget, nor was it in any pre-budget submissions or anything that was put in by stakeholders, which we had read. The big shock is that it's in from January as well, so there's not much time to plan for this, and it's one that you have to bring in from that date also. I will say that there is a counteract in that the PRSI was planned to be increased from 1st of January also, and they have delayed that until later in the year in 24. So there is a counteract there to allow for this cost and let people get used to the $12.70 first. But again, it is something, yes, that will increase the cost of business, and it will increase running costs, especially for the hospitality sector, who are also increasing the VAT from 9% up to the 13.5% as was planned earlier in the year. So yes, it is something that was a shock.
And Minister McGrath also announced the introduction of an increased cost of business grant valued at €250 million. What will this mean for business owners?
I think this one was really, really positive, Karl, and it was lovely to see and lovely for acknowledgement that this kind of area needs some investment by the government and needs some targeting. I will say it was a bit smaller than we would have liked, and there's not much detail on it. We don't know what you need to do to get this grant. We don't know what conditions are in. The devil will be in the detail on this one when the finance bill comes out next week.
The grant itself is going to be linked to rates, so we might be looking at up to 50% of rates being refunded, and it will be administered through the local authorities. The government are also saying that up to 130,000 businesses will be able to benefit from it.
I think that is excessive. I'm not sure if they'll all meet the conditions, but yeah, it's ambitious that many will have access to that. It seems like a small number to be able to benefit to 130,000 micro and small businesses.
And of course, we've seen a huge number of landlords leave the market in recent years. This year, the government is taking some action with a view to trying to reverse that trend.
Absolutely. It's a good one to see. It was targeted and it was maybe not as strategically thought out as we would have liked. They flagged it as kind of a tax exemption, whereas it's not really that when you read down through what will actually mean. It actually acts as a tax credit, and it's increasing 24, 25, 26 and 27. It will go from 3,000 all the way up to 5,000, but it'll be 20% tax relief on that amount. So it's not worth as much as you would think. Now, it should entice private landlords to stay in the market. It's a start. But more needs to be done in this area, because although it's the renters that are really receiving the cost, it's because there's not enough supply in the chain.
In relation to the Employment Investment Incentive Scheme, stakeholders have been calling for changes to be made to that for many years. Good to see the Minister making an announcement about that this year.
Absolutely, and it's a very, very complex scheme. It's become so nuanced because it's very, very hard to access. It's very hard to apply all the conditions to your business in order to be able to get this relief. And it's a really valuable one when you can get it. He has announced that he will double the relief available from 250 to 500k, which is really, really positive. It remains to be seen whether he'll get full approval for this. It's subject to state aid approval by the state. So again, we have to wait and see now what the detail will be on the conditions and whether we can really get that state aid for that amount that he's announced. But it is hopeful, and it's a good relief that was not being used to its full advantage.
And I know that angel investors have been complaining for many years about what they feel was excessive capital gains tax when it came to investments. And again, the government brought out an announcement about reducing CGT for investors. Talk to us about that.
So, Karl, this was a really, really positive announcement, and one which we were really thrilled to see in the budget. It's a brand new CGT relief, one we've never seen before. It applies basically to angel investors that come into the innovative startup SME market. There will be certification and other conditions that will need to be met, but basically you're looking at a CGT rate of 16% or 18%, which is capital gains tax when you exit the market. So when you sell your shares in that investment, the tax you will have on that will be significantly reduced, down from 33% to 16 or 18%. There's a lifetime limit of it of 3 million, but it will definitely go a long, long way to attracting that investment that we need in this market.
And for businesses that are engaging in research and development, there was good news for them in the budget also.
Absolutely. This actually comes with some background to it, Karl, in that we need to make our corporate tax landscape very competitive. And obviously we've signed up to the 15%. So we needed to increase our R&D tax credit to 25 to 30%. This R&D tax credit is really, really valuable to the SME market, but also to our larger multinationals who utilise this. It's a taxable relief for Pillar 2 purposes, so it needed to increase so that we don't have this kind of double booking of it for Pillar 2 purposes in the 15% space.
And what about for companies that are investing in electric vehicle fleets? What supports have been announced for them?
So this was really positive and a really good one to see. There was a lot of heat and a lot of kind of traction about BIK on vehicles until this year. The BIK rates were increased last year in last year's budget, and it became live in February and March earlier this year. There was an awful lot of pushback from the public, and rightly so. The cost of BIK became almost unsustainable for both employees and for businesses alike. The rates on the original market value were significantly increased, and government had to roll back quite significantly and give an immediate relief of $10,000 on the original market value on every car. What they've done in the budget is extend that relief again, which is great news for everybody who's currently on a BIK car, has a car at home from the company. And furthermore, what they did for the battery-powered cars or e-vehicles is extend the relief, which was tapering off in this sector, to 35,000. It's now capped. So essentially what this means combined is that you can have an electric vehicle worth 45,000 with no BIK on it for the foreseeable future, which is really valuable.
With attracting and retaining staff being still one of the key challenges facing businesses will very much welcome the amendments to the key employee engagement programme.
It's basically a share retention scheme, a way of issuing share options to employees who are key employees in your business. It's a way of remunerating them outside salary that can be tax-free in their hands. So yes, very, very valuable for that sector, and it was great to hear that the government is behind it and making sure, again, it's going to be simplified, it's going to be made more attractive to more owner businesses.
A further €27 million is being allocated to the IDA to accelerate its regional property and enterprise grants programme. Hopefully we'll see some of that here in County Wexford.
Absolutely, and as a Wexford native myself, I was really happy to see this, and I'm sure every regional person was. We all know that we've become too reliant on our capital, that we need more investment in infrastructure down local in all regions, not just Wexford. So this is great to see. Again, 27 million, it's not much, but it will help towards what we have ongoing at the minute.
Local enterprise offices will very much welcome the additional €9 million budget to increase their grants in terms of trading online vouchers, lean, green and digitisation programmes also.
Absolutely, and I think if you're in business in the southeast or anywhere in the regions, you can really feel the enterprise offices work in recent years, and you can see them out and about a lot more. So this 9 million will definitely help them to advertise these grants more, as well as getting people on board and helping local businesses utilise them to their full advantage.
It's also welcome to see an additional €3 million increase for the Ukraine Credit Guarantee Scheme to meet the expected calls in the guarantee for 2024.
Yeah, I think it's really key that we're still committed to this, especially we have a lot of Ukrainians still here. We have a lot of people who are still here from the war who's doing displaced. So it's very key that we support the initiatives here. And it's great to see that the government still has that within the budget itself. And it was announced yesterday as part of the package overall.
While the work of the SBCI is very much admired across the country in terms of their low-cost loans, one of the challenges that I've been hearing from business over the past 12 months is that they're all variable interest-related schemes. So they've had to feel the pinch of all of those ECB rate increases. Yeah, and there have been 11, interest rate hikes over the last 12 months, which is quite significant. But we are seeing we are reaching the top, basically, Cara. We're reaching, the OECD and the central bank have been really conservative with all these interest hikes. We obviously had to get back to a more normalised level after the crash. Our interest rates were far too low 5 to 10 years ago. So they needed to come up to a more normal level. Hopefully we are near the plateau where they will start to plateau off now. But obviously it has a huge cost for businesses and mortgage owners and people alike. I know that PwC, Melissa, puts a lot of work into your pre-budget submission. So on that basis, were you happy with the announcements this week in Budget 24? We do believe there could have been more strategic thinking, Karl, and they could have thought a bit more outside the box. They were very conservative. It was a very balanced budget. They very much went on a giveaway budget. They had a surplus to give and they kind of gave something to everybody. But we do think they could have targeted different areas a little better with a bit more strategy. They could have targeted more policy initiatives for carbon footprint and things like that. We are not reaching our targets in that initiative at all. There was only some tiny things like the cars and a small fund announced in that space, which is not
where we would want it to be and not what we recommended in our submission.
Melissa, from an SME perspective, was there anything glaringly obvious that was missed by the Minister in Budget 24?
I think we kind of knew what was coming, Karl, to be honest. There was a fair few of these amounts that were leaked. The main one that we were quite surprised about, as I said, was the minimum wage increase. But yeah, no, from an SME perspective, the funds could have been bigger, the funds and support, and they may well be bigger when we get to the finance bill. We don't know that yet. But yes, there was no surprises, nothing key missed because we kind of knew what was coming down the line. But definitely more could be done in the space. And of course, inflation is persistently a problem facing us over the past 12 to 18 months. What do you think the budget will have in terms of an impact on that going forward? We do agree that the budget overall should not add too much to inflation. I think the Minister announced that it will have a very moderate effect. Our findings and our research would suggest the same. We don't believe that he's gone overboard with the spending. He is taking quite a prudent approach but being very popular also at the same time. He's giving a lot of personal tax incentives. He's giving a lot of increased credit. That's all good for all our personal pockets, but it's also good from a political perspective and to win votes. And in terms of your own client base in PwC, what's their outlook for 2024? It's positive, Karl. We are by no means in a recession. I think there's a lot of kind of negative speaking in the economy. We talk a lot about the cost of living crisis, and rightly so. Everything is increasing in price, but at the same time, we almost have near full employment. We almost have near full employment in the Wexford and the South East region, which is fantastic compared to where we were even 5 years ago. We're not really talking about the positives in the economy because we're very focused on those cost of living issues. So overall, yes, our clients are doing really well. And that's great. They do need more support. Of course, the SME sector needs more from the government. It employs 90% of the people in this country. But at the same time, the government are dealing with a lot of multinational pressures, a lot of cross-territory pressures. And our SME sector are very reliant on that sector also for those employments, for their contracts, for the sales and things like that. So there is a lot of balance to be had there. As I said, it's good outlook for the clients over the next 24 months, we'll say. No sign of a recession. Inflation should balance out. And yeah, overall, we're looking good. And finally, you may have seen David McWilliam's article on the Irish Times last week where he stated Ireland's commercial property market is on the cusp of a monumental collapse. What are your thoughts on that one? Yeah, something that was missing was talk of housing. There's no doubt about it. I think the Minister was on prime time. He talked about how other initiatives were there for property, and that is true. There are the rent credit increase, as we talked about, the other initiatives in property, but housing is definitely going to be the number one priority for the government, any government, in the next 5 years, I'd say.
Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick.